Hello, Gavin Hoey here with another Photoshop tutorial. This week I'm going to show you how you can put an image inside of text. It's called a clipping mask. Okay, so we've got a picture, all we need is some text. So let's get the text tool and we'll just start typing round about here. Now I'm going to change the font before I start typing because the font you choose is kind of important. I want a font that's big and bold, and frankly Impact is the one I want to use. Now, the colour of the font doesn't matter at all. It's not in the slightest bit important. The size is kind of important, but not that important, as you'll see. Okay, let's just start typing directly into there. There we go. Zoom. That sounds pretty good. And now we have a bit of text. Now, because we've typed this in using the text tool, this is a layer, and you can move this around and put that zoom anywhere you like. But if we come up to Edit and choose Free Transform, we can do more than that. We can rotate it any way we like, and we can resize it by stretching it as well. So as you see, the size of your font that you started with isn't that important. Okay, let's just stretch this out so it goes across the whole length of the image, and then we'll move it up like that, and perhaps down a wee bit as well, so we get really big font, as big as I can make it. Around about there, that looks pretty much about as big as I can get. Okay, so now we have a nice big font, but it completely covers a large chunk of the image. So how do we get the image to appear through the font? Well, here's the trick. Go to your Layers palette and drag the text underneath the background. Now, you won't be able to do it, so you may want to try swearing a little bit at Adobe for not letting you do this, but there's a good reason why you can't do it. It's simply because the background layer by default is always padlocked. So the background layer is always the bottom layer of your layer stack. And to get around that, you simply need to double click your background layer, rename it to absolutely anything. You can even call it background if you really want to. And hey presto, the padlock disappears, and now you can drag and drop your text underneath. Great. Okay, now we've got the text at the bottom, but we can't see it. No, not to worry, there's a trick for that as well. Come down to your keyboard and hold the Alt key on the keyboard, that's the Option key on a Mac, and just click the join between the two layers, just like that. And when you do, you'll see that your image disappears except where you had text, and now you can see it through the text. Now you can see why the colour of the text we typed in wasn't important, because all you can see is the picture. Just to add a little touch of interest though, I'm going to put a little bit of a layer style on here. So let's come down to the F layer style button and we'll put a bit of drop shadow in there. Not a lot, just a wee bit like that. And whilst we're here, perhaps we'll put a bit of bevel and emboss in as well. So we'll add a bit of bevel and emboss. There we go. That looks pretty good. Yep, we'll go with that. Just take that down. Yep, done. Okay, there we are. So a bit of bevel and emboss. Now that's fine, except of course you've got all this transparency behind your text. Now you could cut the text out and make this as an object, or you could put another colour in behind, or you could do what I'm going to do. And that's, I'm going to make a copy of the original picture. Drag it down to the new layer icon and let go. So now we have two identical versions. I'm going to drag that copy right down to the bottom of the layer stack. And it sits there quite nicely, so your text has that sort of 3D, sort of raised look to it, which is kind of good. But I'd like to blur that background image out. So let's go to Filter, and we'll go for Blur, and we're going to go with Radial Blur. Now, Radial Blur comes in two flavours. There's the Spin Radial Blur, which makes everything look like it's, well, spinning. And then there's the Zoom Radial Blur, which makes everything look like, well, you can probably work that one out for yourself. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bump up the amount. Ooh, right up there, around about 80 or so. Now at the moment it's going to blur into the centre of the image. Now that's fine, but you can also drag that around so it blurs to one corner or the other, or frankly anywhere you want to put it. Now I'd like it to sort of zoom into his head more or less, but our preview is square and our picture is rectangular. It's not the easiest filter to use, to be honest. There's a little bit of guesswork, but I'm going to guess, I'm going to cross my fingers, that around about there. So let's click OK, and away it goes. Now it just takes a second or two for that filter to apply. Yeah, it's pretty good. That'll do nicely. And now we have that nice kind of blurring, zooming effect going into the center of our little jet skier. I'm going to finish it off by just doing a little bit of adjustment on this layer. Let's go to Image, Adjustments. let's pick up brightness and contrast. There we go. And we'll just bump up the contrast and drop down the brightness a little bit like that. So we get a nice kind of punchy image, punchy colors. And then we have the zoom text with its clear pictures running through it, going diagonally down the page. So we've got a really dramatic look. Okay, so there we are. That's how you put an image into your text.